2019 is coming to a close, and this is a special year because it also means that we're almost done with the 2010s. A decade is a long time. 6 years ago I started this channel, but that means there's 4 more years of gaming memories before that. I've played hundreds of games in the last 4 years, but today we're gonna narrow that list down to the 10 best experiences I've had. Obviously, this is going to be skewed toward my own taste. It is my countdown after all, but I did account for cultural relevance and overall impact as well. Some games are just too big to ignore. I also found it interesting that some of my Game of the Year winners from past snow globes didn't make the cut here. A decade not only carries
Last of Us!
also makes you reflect for
Bro, Last of Us 2 is gonna be fucking chess, my bro.
So after much deliberation and heartbreak when it came to some of the exclusions, I give you my list of the 10 best titles of the 2010s. Let's dive in.
Last of Us 2. Insane. Spelunky! Obviously.
Spelunky may not be for everyone.
I like this game though.
Put it at number 10, but I do believe it's the best roguelite I've ever played. Unlike others such as The Binding of Isaac, where the replayability is based around the massive amount of items that can character, Spelunky gets away with just a small pool of them because the levels
You have to keep your PS4, my bro. It's like PS4 exclusives best.
themselves can be so chaotic. Because of how they're constructed, each stage feels less like a gauntlet of tough enemies and more like a Rube Goldberg machine, where a chain reaction could switch your course of action at any moment.
100%.
I put over 300 hours into Spelunky.
What the fuck?
It's a game that somehow maintains its difficulty.
You should get it, bro. But like, get it just for the exclusives and then cancel and then all time.
So hard at numerous deaths in the jungle when I was starting out, but nothing compares to the feeling of accomplishment when you beat the odds for the very first time and come out on top. And the elaborate set of secret items used to unlock the true ending against Yama is just gravy, man. It's something even cooler in an already incredible experience.
Maybe I'll do a stream of this, but I feel like playing it.
2020, but maybe that's a blessing in disguise. Now it can be on my list for the next decade too.
It looks very tempting.
I feel so bad for Stardew Valley.
I don't know this game, bro.
2016 that it wasn't even nominated for my Game of the Year. I gave it to Overwatch. Over the years, Stardew has become one of my favorite titles of all time, and I haven't even played Overwatch since they added like Orisa or something. So you know what? I'm retroactively re-awarding it. Stardew Valley is truly that good, and it's hilarious to me because on paper it's a game that I should have zero interest in playing. I've never been into Harvest Moon or Animal
I don't know this fucking game.
Of watering plants and
this seems like a game you'll play though, Closure.
Far out of my wheelhouse as you can get, but somehow it pulls it off so charmingly and really pulls you in with its addicting mechanics and overall polish. The daily loop is just the right length to accomplish almost everything you'd want to. Prepare your crops, go shopping, or complete villager requests, maybe fish or explore the map for secrets. Or you could dedicate your day to mining and combat. This is elaborate enough to be its own game, but the way it saves when you go to sleep and entices you with easy tasks needed.
I don't know what's this game about, bruh.
You just have to do one more day.
I've never played this fucking game.
Track for the rest of the season. It's been so fun to see.
Yeah, I know this video is like giving me also ideas of games to play, but like Final Fantasy 15, I'm gonna do this weekend, definitely. I don't know, but this looks like a fucking Game Boy game, Game Boy Advance or some shit.
Awesome into a complete package with online multiplayer and all sorts of new improvements added over the years. Stardew, you're beautiful, and I'm sorry it took this long to give you your proper due.
Maybe I should try it out. It should be like cheap now.
Alright, so I'll be the first to admit that Super Mario Maker isn't a perfect series. It took a long time to reach the level of versatility we have now for creating the levels of our
Whoa, shit, this looks nice, bro.
Limited. But the reason I included it on this list is more because of what it represents. This is the first time we've seen a fully sanctioned level creator of
no fucking way!
And in true Nintendo fashion, they made something as mundane as building stages joyful, quirky, and interactive. This isn't like Game Maker or RPG Maker.
One thing about Nintendo, bro, like they stick to what they know and they do it good. Even though it's not relevant to like the games people like today. Nintendo stick to what they know. They stick to the basics and they do it good. With the exception of the Wii U.
Maker, where it's more of a tool set with no bells and whistles. This is a real deal video game that anyone can enjoy, but the possibilities are limitless. I love that you can create so much more than simple platformers, and the community
That's fucking Pog, bro.
has really shown how high the bar can be raised. Looking at you, Panga, who hurt you? Specifically with the first game, we hadn't really seen anything like it before, and I can only imagine what the next generation of game designers who grew up with this title will be capable of in the future.
Next level.
We recently discussed what other potential Maker games could look like. And while Mario Maker certainly has its flaws or ways it could improve, what we do have is an incredible first step into uncharted territory. And at least for me, it's hard not to love something that makes players think about
Maybe I should invest in a Switch. I don't know.
Could lead to down the road.
It looks fucking nice, bro. Play some Zelda. Switch. Dude, I don't know any of those fucking games.
Simply because it's so new. I love it now, but what if it won't have the same impact in a few years? Well, after I played the Chapter 9 DLC that was just released, it solidified this game as a magnificent journey that everyone should experience. Seriously, these guys are experts at level design. I love this little jellyfish. Celeste is probably the hardest game on this list. It's a rage game through and through. But what sets it apart is its attitude toward the player of hopefulness and encouragement.
I'm gonna recommend this game to Ralliator.
While others love to throw in a "ha you died, you suck," or an unceremonious splatter of blood, from the very beginning, this game sets the tone by saying you can do this. And that theming carries throughout the adventure. Celeste tells a story of self-discovery and overcoming your inner demons, to make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, while also making you go, "What the? Are you kidding me?" It's unbelievably accessible thanks to a bevy of difficulty options, and has just so much content. It's amazing. Each new mechanic it throws at you is clever and versatile, but then you see them combined together and it's like, oh,
what the fuck?
This is versatile. Not to mention how deep the movement is. You'd think this speedrun tech was an exploit, but nope, this is straight up intentional. While I do think Celeste is the best challenging platformer I've played all decade, it gets extra props for trying to bring in as wide of an audience as possible to experience the magic.
Hectic shit. I know none of these fucking games.
To talk about on this channel, so let's break it down. Admittedly, I didn't give it a fair shake on my first playthrough. It has a little bit of a slow start, but once you get your first few power-ups, things really start to take off, and there ain't no breaks in Hollow Nest. I talked about how it uniquely introduces the map to you in a previous video, but what really impressed me is how effortlessly they balance combat, platforming, and exploration. The world is gigantic, and there's so much to discover, but the same abilities used to get around
This can't be one of the best games since
to
2010.
make them equally fluid and engaging.
I think this is one of his best games.
Gameplay, with the Colosseum of Fools and White Palace respectively.
But not the in the top.
map
It can't
is
be.
beautifully connected in such a way that there's always a new place to explore, but the many branching paths will also guide you toward your next goal without even realizing it. You gain an intimate relationship with the world and its interwoven nature over the course of the game, which is hard to do with something so large. That's why I think the underlying story and lore of the various characters help to deepen that bond as well. This truly feels like a real place after a while. And I mean, hey, price isn't everything, but it's hard to overlook that Hollow Knight is $15 and has some of the most elaborate free DLC packs you can find. With a distinctive art style, mysterious bug-inspired setting, and a full sequel in the works with what appears to be even smoother gameplay, Hollow Knight just might be the
It doesn't look like shit though.
Metroidvania can be. I mean, come on, it's Shovel Knight. This guy deserves to be here on his appearance.
Oh wait, Shovel Knight, yeah.
I think the only thing he didn't cameo in was my wedding. I haven't been quiet about my support for Yacht
This is
and
Pog.
everything they're doing. And what's cool about all these Shovel Knight expansions is that each one keeps getting better than the last. At a time where it felt like pixel art platformers were a dime a dozen, the original campaign was a breath of fresh air. Because while it took inspiration from games of old, it morphed them into something all its own, with unique mechanics, a stellar soundtrack, and goodies hidden all throughout the various levels. But then, Plague of Shadows, while a little harder to get used to in terms of controls, levels, expanded the Shovelverse by establishing new ways to play the courses we've already seen, and giving more backstory.
Okay, I haven't played
to the
this.
bosses. Spectre of Torment, however, seemed to perfect this concept by not only completely revamping the stages yet again to give them new life, but also introducing a wicked set of attack and movement options to really feel like the Reaper of Death.
This looks nice.
Scythe surfing, you just can't beat that. Now, as of the release of this video, the final DLC pack won't come out for another month, but I have played all three, yes, 3 new games that are included at PAX West, and they were looking real good even back then. So I'm gonna trust in the quality Yacht Club provides and say that it's gonna rock. The fact that all of this is under the banner of Shovel Knight, the saga, is yet another example of bang for your buck that is simply hard to match, and is proof that a Kickstarter game can indeed become a dream come true.
Okay. Okay.
Let's try something a little different for this one.
Yeah,
Less
please.
than 1 second from a song, and let's see if you can guess the game. Sorry, I just had to. Alright, we're getting into the big
Undertale!
To call Undertale a phenomenon would be a massive understatement. It's entered the ranks of high memedom now, but I think it's...
I wonder if I should do a stream of Undertale though.
Home and did something special for a lot of people. Most were drawn in by the subversion of expectations and the ability to save everyone you come across, turning most RPG tropes on their head. And I mean, yeah, this reveal was pretty freaking terrifying the first time I saw it. But personally, I loved how there were multiple playthroughs depending on the actions you take.
That's
The
true.
Activist ending was easily the most enjoyable with all the dates you can go on, while the genocide route shows that if you're gonna go out of your way to kill everyone,
I think I should play this game again.
you're gonna have a bad time. But Undertale wouldn't have had such an impact if it wasn't for the cast of memorable characters. Sans has become a gaming mainstay, and if the reaction to Deltarune dropping out of nowhere is anything to go off of, fans are chomping at the bit for more. If the fact that Toby Fox went from a lowly ROM hacker to making music for Game Freak doesn't inspire the crap out of you, I don't know what will. Undertale guaranteed that indie games were a force to be reckoned with, and if your idea is interesting enough,
Undertale is a fucking magnificent success. Oh my god.
games on this list could say they spawned an entire genre. And while I wouldn't say Dark Souls is unlike anything else, it sure seems like the only game you can compare to these days. It's
Now I have fucking PTSD.
hard to say what exactly jump-started Dark Souls' success. It's brutally hard, I certainly wouldn't call it accessible, and the story is one of the most convoluted out there. All I know is that when I played it, I was instantly hooked from the moment I took down the Asylum Demon. Like many others on this list, it came at the perfect time, where other games started to incorporate a lot more hand-holding, and making the player feel like an unstoppable superhero killing waves of enemies at a time. So when Dark Souls refused to apologize for its difficulty, and allowed you to get knocked down over and over again without much help or guidance,
Fucking
you were
true.
drawn to something that forced you to, yes, I'm really gonna say it, get good. It felt like a modern reimagining.
Time to get good.
Reminding players of the accomplishment you feel when you simply get better, and best a seemingly insurmountable obstacle. Because it turned into an acclaimed series, it's hard to think back to that truly terrifying feeling when the bell
PS1 eras.
two of them, or when you accidentally stumbled upon a giant deadly hydra. And those encounters that appeared impossible became more manageable as you learned their patterns and weaknesses. It was that growth and progression that was so addicting. Dark Souls is a test of patience and endurance, but if you stick it out, it's the type of experience that can show you why you fell in love with games in the first place.
That's 100% true. But that's why I don't stream these games. It takes too long. Obviously Zelda has to be.
To this day, it feels like Breath of the Wild is still controversial. People like to write it off because it's not a good Zelda game, or because of the incorporation of weapon durability. But I can't think of another game that enthralled me as heavily as this one. The world was so unfathomably massive, and yet it felt like there was something...
This is why I want to switch.
Corner. For a good month or two, exploring everything Breath of the Wild had to offer was all I wanted to do. I wouldn't call myself the biggest Zelda fan in the world, and maybe that's why I loved it so much. I thought infiltrating the dungeons was great, and the shrines were really fun and diverse. But the act of searching and finding them was what brought me the most joy. There's so much stuff jam-packed in here that breathtaking moments are bound to happen by coincidence, like sighting a massive dragon just as you climb a lengthy tower, or leaving the Great Plateau ready to...
This looks like the same engine as at Spellbreak, same engine.
Breath of the Wild was willing to let the player roam free and tackle Hyrule however they wanted. Yes, you're given some direction, but you can also just go straight to Ganon if you really felt like it. And that sense of discovery, whether it was stumbling upon Eventide Island, finding new ways to kill enemies with the physics engine, or rebuilding Terrytown from scratch, has yet to be matched in this decade.
Oh.
There is nothing
Has to be.
convince me that any other game belongs at the #1 spot. In fact, I'm not even sure it's close.
My boy closure!
In 2011, and I think in a lot of ways it's still a huge deal. But look past the fact that this is the best-selling game of all time. Look past the thousands of Let's Plays and song parodies that practically catapulted gaming YouTube into what it is today. At its core, Minecraft is a game that no one really knew they needed in their life until they saw it. It's not going to win any graphics awards, but the infinite sprawling world and freedom to do whatever you'd like was too intriguing to pass up. I still to this day get a leap of excitement in my stomach when I see diamond ore appear on screen, whether I'm playing or not. I remember trying to install a fireplace in my mansion only to accidentally burn the whole thing down despite my efforts to douse the flames. Every good Minecraft story happens organically because of the open nature of its design, and that's without mentioning the birth of a grassroots community that built so much more through mods.
Oral craft.
Put itself into the player's hands and let them mold it into anything they desired. From creative mode to build unimaginable works of art, to hardcore mode for a laugh with friends. Minecraft is the best game of the decade because, in a way, it could be any game you wanted, and I think we'll be hard-pressed to find anything like it again.
That's true. In general.
So what about you? I've rambled long enough about my favorite titles. What would be
in general, gaming, it's fucked.
Tell me how much they mean to you.